Okay, so just to give you brief idea from the earlier part, so we already know what turgidity is. We already know what flaccidity is in terms of situation. Just these two technical terminologies which we had seen in the last class, that is Turger pressure, which is a pressure acting on the walls of the cell by the fluid present in it. So when the cell is turgid, there will be lot of fluid inside. It will exert the pressure on the walls in the outward direction, that is turgor pressure. And opposite to that will be a wall pressure, so which is acting towards the center on the cell content, so that is the wall pressure. So these two terminologies that we had seen with respect to the turgid cell. And also the phenomena of plasmolysis, that is the shrinkage of the cell wall, uh, uh, shrinkage of the cell membrane from the cell wall, not of the cell wall, but shrinkage of the cell membrane or plasma membrane from the cell wall. And this was depicted in this diagram, that is like cell membrane is kind of getting detached from the cell wall, and then it is kind of collapsing inside, forming shrinking in its size. So that was plasmolysis. And deplasmolysis was exactly opposite of this, that is going towards the normal cell. And this was the example when a cell is kept in 20% sucrose, that is hypertonic solution, outside the cell. It will shrink because the water will move, it will the water will move out, so it will yeah, correct, it will shrink. And then when the same cell is placed into the distilled water, it will again regain its normal shape. So that is what was plasmolysis and deplasmolysis. Definitions, again you can read it on your own. And we had looked at these 4 points in terms of importance of turgidity, why it is important for plants. So first one that we had seen was the closing and opening of the stomata. Now again I'll quickly revise. So these two are the guard cells, and the central opening is nothing but the stomata or stoma. And obviously, because these are normal plant cells, these they will have nucleus, cell wall, chloroplast, vacuole, and so on. We need not mention it every time, but because these are normal plant cells, what we need most importantly need to mention is this label of guard cells, these two being guard cells, and the opening at the center being stoma. And when they are in turgid situation, the cell walls will get extended, so there will be ultimately a curvature at the center of the guard cells, which will cause opening of the stomata. And when these guard cells, they are flaccid, when there is less amount of water, they will shrink a bit and it will close the stomata. So that is one first point. Growth of the cell, again turgidity leads to movement of water solution. So with water there will be transport of nutrients, so ultimately growth is happening. Dispersion of the seed, that was because of the turgid nature of the fruits and the sporangia, they burst out and they spread out the seeds or spores. Then giving mechanical support, because of the turgidity, again plants can maintain its upright position, because a lot of the cells, they are being packed within a space, so that gives very tough or rigid structure to the plant. So these were the 4 points that we had looked up till now. Now, going forward with respect to the importance of turgidity, germination. Again, with germination also we had seen how germination happens due to the phenomena of turgidity. Now, due to this turgid nature of the cell, the embryo gets more rigidity. How? Again, more water, the cell walls or cell membrane, they are distended, so more rigidity. And it comes out of the seed pod during germination. So whenever you soak a seed in water, or whenever you sow the seed in soil which is watered already, and there the first phenomena that will happen is imbibition. That is, water will be absorbed onto the surface of the seed, and then the water will get absorbed to the inner content, that is via osmosis process. Now after that the cells will become more turgid, then the seed coat will be kind of ruptured open so that the embryo can move out. And again, why the embryo can move out? Because it is also a turgid cell, so it will break open the seed coat during germination. And this also help in the movement of nutrient solution from cell to cell. Like again, the whole of the mechanism remains same, right? First, like osmosis happens, water moves in, cell becomes turgid, then it goes on to the neighboring cell, so the neighboring cell also becomes turgid, and then it is passed on. Now because of this movement of water to neighboring cell, obviously the nutrient solution also get transported along with it. It helps in the movement of nutrient solution from cell to cell. So that is what we had seen. It is also necessary ultimately for the growth of different organ, because nutrient solutions are being passed, so ultimately it's helping in the growth. There is nothing more to explain here. And due to all this phenomena, the turgidity helps in maintaining the plant rigid and upright. So that is the like after germination, how this phenomena is like helpful for the plant to be in a rigid structure and in upright position. So that is the importance of turgidity in germination. And okay, so is there any question here in this process of germination? Otherwise we'll go to the next uses of turgidity, which is kind of continuous topic. And most important phenomena there is wilting. But yeah, if anyone has any question. Okay, so the uses of this turgidity to plants. Now this might overlap with the importance in some cases, there I will skip, but otherwise now turgidity provides rigidity to soft tissues such as leaves. Now if you look at this particular diagram at the bottom, you can clearly see when the seed is soaked or sowed into the sown into the soil, it kind of absorbs water, so it will swell up a bit, it will start sprouting, that sprout will grow. Now if you have ever touched any of these sprouts, they are very soft. Imagine how they push through the soil layer, which is very hard. And the reason how, or the mechanism by which they are able to do this pushing through the soil and coming out of the ground, is because of this turgidity phenomena. Because the turgidity will give them rigidity, though it is a soft tissue, and then they can move out. Now when there is not enough water in the leaf, right? Now let's say you haven't like given water to the potted plant, or even on the like in the farm also, the leaf they wilts, that means they petiole and lamina. Petiole is the stem of the leaf and lamina is the surface, right? So these two things, that is petiole and lamina, or in short the whole leaf itself, becomes loose and it droops down. Droops down as in, if it is like kind of straight or parallel to the ground, it will just keep hanging, so that is drooping down. And this particular phenomena is called as wilting of leaves, and that is because of when there is less water, that is no turgidity. Yeah, so in those cases this wilting is very much observed. You might have seen this phenomena commonly in summer, especially like some of the tree having leaves which are kind of like just hanging onto the trees, and they are not in their normal position. So that is wilting of the leaves, which is usually noticed when a plant is exposed to hot afternoon sun. Now what happens because of that? Obviously lot of amount of water is lost in the transpiration process, and that amount is more that is more amount of water is lost than the water which is absorbed by the root. So obviously, if the output is higher, input is lower, then obviously the the plant is going to face a crunch of water. So in that case, there will be no turgid states of the cells, which is ultimately leading to the wilting of the leaves. This question had been again quite famous in the board exams. What is the wilting of the leaves, or how does it happen, or mechanism of it, or a particular plant in hot summer is like not planted, explain the phenomena which will happen, several questions around it. So that you need to remember the mechanism, why does it happen. Now in the evenings, when the transpiration is reduced, now why in the evening transpiration will be reduced? Again, the temperature drops down a bit because sun has gone down, so transpiration reduces and the quantity of water absorbed exceeds the loss of water. So transpiration is less, water absorption is more, so plant will have more and more water, and then the turgidity of this leaf cell is restored again, and the leaves, they again stand out. So that is the way this wilting of the leaves is again like taken care of. So if you want to try this as a simple experiment, how wilting is done, usually like you don't water the plant for a day or two, and then you can see the leaves drooping down, and when you water them back, immediately within 1 or 2 hours you will see the leaves are totally standing out. So that is the how does this turgidity help in the soft tissues, like for example leaves. And one more point, that is the last one which we had already seen, that is turgid pressure also helps to push through the hard ground even though it is very soft tissue at the tender age. So that is first point, turgidity providing rigidity to the softer tissues. Any question here? Okay, now the next use of turgidity to plants. So there is one particular experiment which is done to demonstrate this pressure, or what is also called as turgidity in simplest term. Highlighted terms we will see later, but let's understand what this experiment is. So what you have is, you have a well watered pot. So you have been regularly watering this pot, and there was a plant. Now you cut this plant few centimeters above the soil part, right? You can see this green part is relatively short, and then you attach a rubber gasket and this kind of S-shaped tube, right? And this curved tube is actually containing mercury, which is shown in the gray color, and it has nothing in here. So earlier, as and when you cut this stem, the cell sap will start oozing out because water is continuously being absorbed. The absorption of water by the plant does not stop even if you cut off the leaves. And that way, what you have is the cell sap coming out, and after a while, if you leave it, you can see the level of mercury that is shown here, mercury level rising. So you can see first both of these levels are equal, then this level is increased and it goes up on this tube. So that means the cell sap is oozing out from the stem. Why? Because root is continuously absorbing water. It is pushing this water content or the cell sap in the stem, which is ultimately oozing out because there is no outlet next to stem apart from this tube. So that is what is this upward pressure or upward flow is due to the heavy pressure from the roots, that is by the absorption of the water by the roots, and that is called as root pressure. So water is absorbed by the roots, it is pushing the cell sap or the water content upward, and that particular pressure is known as root pressure. Now, due to this root pressure, this water, or which is ultimately the cell sap, can rise in the tube or in the stem in natural condition. Natural condition means if you just leave the cut like branch of the tree or like cut stem of the tree as it is, you can see a kind of drop accumulating on the surface of that cut, and it can only happen up to a certain height, because it cannot go on, this process cannot go on. Whatever amount of water is present in the soil and whatever is the absorption capacity of the roots of this particular plant, only that much height can be increased in the in this scenario or in this experiment. And this particular loss of water, that is loss of cell sap through the cut stem, is called as bleeding. So that is the bleeding phenomenon. So bleeding is actually, you might have observed it quite commonly around you. Whenever you have a tree and you just make a kind of wound on the bark or on the stem of the tree, you can see some liquid oozing out. This is quite commonly you would have seen is the latex, that white milky fluid coming out of the stem. That is one. And the second,
Sorry, sir. So it's not exactly related to turbidity, but the sap that comes out is that like a conducting material, or is that what is that like? What's the purpose of the sap?
purpose of the sap is to maintain the cell nutrition and the cell fluid balance. It has different substances,
Okay, I got it. I got
including
it. So
mineral.
it's basically that milky substance is cell sap, right?
No, milky substance is latex. That
Yeah,
is,
yeah. Sorry, my bad. Sorry, the latex. What's the purpose of the latex? Sorry.
latex is just the metabolic waste sometimes. Depends on plant to plant. But in most of the plants, if we generalize, that is metabolic waste. Waste as in, like throughout the metabolic processes, certain compounds gets formed and plant doesn't have any excretion system as such. Okay, so then that goes out as latex. In some of the cases it also has some nutritional value, but depends on what latex is made up of. But on an average it is metabolic waste. Okay, so that is the bleeding part. So bleeding, that bleeding and what we experience as a human, that bleeding is also similar. Like you have an injury and then suddenly blood starts coming out, right? That is something similar there also in the plant, but just not the blood, of course. It is the water or the cell sap content that comes out of those cut. So that is root pressure and the bleeding. Now we will see this root pressure definition. So this is the pressure developed by the roots due to the continuous or continued inward movement of water. Inward movement of water is from soil to the root. This water flow is continuous, and through cell to cell osmosis, that is from root hair to cortex hair to xylem vessels and so on, then to different parts of the plant. So this cell to cell osmosis goes on until the ascent of sap has moved upward through the stem. That is whatever nutrition that stem not stem the root has absorbed from the soil, it will keep moving upward, and that is what is ascent of cell sap. Ascent is kind of upward movement. So this root pressure is nothing but the pressure which is allowing water to flow upward due to the osmosis process, and which is ultimately due to the cell sap concentration, right? So that is the root pressure. And then this turgor pressure or the turgidity in opening and closing of stomata, that we had already seen, so we need not talk about it here again. So that is, these are the points, that is providing rigidity, then like building the root pressure, and the opening and closing of stomata. Now the one more is the turgor movement. Now turgor movement is again another phenomena where the most commonly known turgor movement phenomena is touch me not, right? Like you surely know what touch me not plant is, and when you touch, what happens? Their leaves just they close out. So that particular situation is because of the turgor movement. Now, if one of the leaves is touched even tightly, or sorry, not tightly, lightly, the leaflets they fold up within 2 to 3 seconds, and the entire leaf droops. If the leaf is touched somewhat strongly, the wave of folding or the drooping spreads from the leaf to all the neighboring leaves. So if you are just touching very lightly to one corner, it will close slowly. But if you are touching a little bit strongly, that particular what you say, the closing of the leaves happens spontaneously throughout the all the leaf structure, and then they can again recover later whenever the turgidity is attained. Now, how does this happen? So this is something similar to you having sensors. Like I'm sure you are aware of the sensors in the physics or electronics part of like whatever technical equipments. So these leaves, they also have some sensors, which are nothing but protein molecules. They changing certain activity or certain signal or their shape, and they causing sequence of event super fast, allowing the water level to drop down and then regain it back. And because of that, the turgidity is changed. So that's why that closing of the leaves happen in this Mimosa pudica. Okay, so that is kind of your touch me not plant. Then in yeah, again this point we need not really bother about, but actually it says so. The stimulus of the touch leads to the loss of turgor at the base of the leaflet and petioles, which is called as pulvinus. So just the structural feature. So when you, if you remember that touch me not kind of plant, at the base, like where it is attached to the branch, that is called as pulvinus. Yeah, that is what the structural detail is. Now similar phenomena occurs in the insectivorous plants as well. I assume you know what insectivorous plants are. These are kind of uh, carnivorous plants, not carnivorous as in they go and eat meat, but they do eat insects, so that is why I call them uh, carnivorous plants. So they have a special feature, which is, for example, let me show you one of the um, insectivorous plant. Insectivorous plants. Images. Yeah, for example, this one. If you see, now these have this spine like feature. The moment the prey goes and sit inside or whatever that insect is, the moment it is like touching the inner surface, this is sensed by the cells of this plant, and then they kind of just close it down. That is also because of the turgor movement. So the moment the prey touches the surface of the cells on this insectivorous plant, that particular gives signal, then the turgor pressure reduces, and then the closing of this structure happens, and that way it will lead to killing of the prey, and then it is digested and so on. And then again, as and when the turgor pressure is retained, they go back to this open stage of these structures. So that is what is insectivorous plant example, and how the turgor movement is important in there. And the third example in the turgor movement is bending of certain flowers towards the sun. Now sunflower is the common example. We say it always faces the sun, and that is also related to your turgor movement. That is as and when the water content is higher, it's upright or it is in normal position or facing any direction. But as and when sun starts coming up, the transpiration happens, water loss happens, then the turgidity is lost. So it faces that particular direction so that it can maintain the transpiration rate. Then another phenomena most commonly observed is the sleep movements of the leaves. You might have seen again in the case of amla plant or tamarind plant, which are kind of similar in terms of their leaf structure. So those leaves, or even amalthas for that matter, at night, if you see these plants, their leaves, they are closed down, and that is because turgor moments. So these are various examples of turgor moment. That is your touch me not or insectivorous plant, or the sunflower, which is bending moment of the flower, and the sleep moment. Now, literally, this does not mean sleep. It just the like at night, because they are kind of closing down. That is what is called as sleep moment. So that these are the various uses of the turgidity in plants. Any question here again? I hope this part is clear.
So, so the touch me not plant. So, I didn't get like, how does that go to the sleep cycle? Like, when you touch the touch me not plant, it closes. So, does it like sleep or what
No,
happens to it?
it doesn't sleep. It just like turgidity is lost, so water content is lost. So uh, it's like, for example, it's something similar to your guard cells, right? When they are turgid, they are kind of open, right? Now imagine this is like kind of triangular shape, like V shape, for example. So when it is turgid, that is completely filled, the V shape will be exactly like this. And when it is there will be no turgidity, they will kind of droop down, and that's when the shape is closed. And that's what happens with the leaves. When they are turgid, they are kind of parallel to each other. As and when the turgidity is lost, they kind of come closer, and they like droop down. So that is what is happening. It has nothing to do with the sleep as such.
Oh, okay, so,
Okay, anyone else, any question? Okay, if there are no questions, then we can move forward. So we have to look at what exactly is this root pressure. So now again the same phenomena I will explain, but before going to this description, I'll just explain this first point, and then we'll go to the diagram. So root pressure is the force or hydrostatic pressure generated in the roots. That is obviously the pressure which is generated by the water content within the root, that is root pressure. Now, how does it help in driving fluids? So obviously, when the water is absorbed, it is pushing the already present water along with the ions upward direction, and that happens through the xylem, which is nothing but the plant's vascular tissue. So that is the root pressure. Now, to understand this, we need to look at this diagram. So this is just the representation. Ideally, in the exam, you are supposed to draw this diagram. But because this looks a little complicated, I found out this diagram, which is relatively simpler, at least in terms of presentation. But to understand this, I will show you another thing first, that is root cross section. So images. So let's say, for example, this image. Now what you are seeing here is epidermis, cortex, endodermis, pericycle, and xylem. These are the different layers of cells within the root. Now if you look at the actual cross section, why I can't change the tab? Oops, what did I do? I stopped sharing. Oops. Oh, did I close the tab? No. Yeah, sorry. So if you look at this particular section, which is the cross section of the root, what you have in black is your epidermis. What you have is here roundish, nothing but a cortex. Then you have endodermis, which is this another red line, not line as such, but a layer of cell. Then this pericycle in kind of blue, and then this big roundish or oval structure. They are nothing but your xylem and phloem, that is vascular bundle, right? So that's how the arrangement. So let's say whenever water is getting absorbed, it will have to cross through these different layers. So first it will cross epidermis, then cortex, then endodermis, then pericycle, and then it will enter into xylem. So that's exactly how it is shown in this particular diagram. So there will be root hair, which will have the outermost layer called as epidermis. So you can see the arrow direction. So water is moving inside. It will get entry into the epidermal cell by osmosis. Now there is something called as plasmodesmata structure within the plant cells, which is nothing but a tubular opening between the neighboring cells, that is plasmodesmata. So these plasmodesmata structure will allow the continuous flow of the water into cortex, then into the endodermis, then into pericycle, and through the diffusion, through the osmosis, it will enter into the xylem, and then it will move upward towards the leaf from the root side. So that is the overall movement of the water, which is generating the root pressure. Now, another thing, if you observe carefully in the diagram, is you can also see the arrow in the plasma membrane space, right? In this blue thing, you see this arrow, which means water does move through these spaces as well. Yeah. And that is what is, we will see those different movements of water, that is apoplastic and symplastic movements of water. That is in the, I guess, next chapter or so. But as of now, what we need to remember is what is the flow of water to create root pressure, that is from outside, that is the soil, to epidermis, to cortex, to endodermis, then pericycle and xylem. And that's how the water will move upward later. Now, this thing that you see in red, yeah, it is nothing but a Casparian strip, which is a layer of cell present in the plant and around the endodermis, which does not allow the leakage of water. So again, just to give you that idea as well here, why is this not changing up to shades? Oh, it's because of this. Yeah, so I hope you are able to see my screen. This is endodermis, cortex, then pericycle, and next to pericycle you have another layer which is called as Casparian strip, and which does not allow the water to move outside. Now once it has entered inside the xylem, it has to go upward. Imagine if this endodermis is kind of porous and it will not have Casparian strip, water can go back into this different cortex layer, which obviously the plant doesn't want to lose that much of water, and that is why it has this Casparian strip. In terms of analogy, if I can tell you, oops, what am I doing? Sorry about that. So in terms of analogy, if I have to tell you, not this one. So in terms of analogy, if I have to share this, the function of Casparian strip is something like, let's say you have overhead water tank on the top of your terrace, which is kind of built, and we have common ceiling in between. Now just so the water tank is always lined with some leak proof material, and also the wall of the ceiling is cemented with the leak proof material so that the water does not root down, right? So that way Casparian strip has the similar function. It's kind of hydrophobic material, and it does not allow the leaking of the water back into the cortex, and that is why it is present around this endodermis area, which is enclosing the xylem and phloem tissue. So that is the general mechanism of the root water movement through the root. Now, where is it? Yeah. Now, this process of root pressure is produced by the osmotic pressure. Remember, any water related movement within the plant, they are because of the osmotic pressure of the water. So whether it's in the root or in the stem, these will always be because of the osmotic pressure. And that is most common during the spring season before the leaves develop and the rate of transpiration is rapid. So when the rate of transpiration is rapid, water loss is more, right? And the root pressure is observed there during this spring season. So spring is like kind of more colorful season. That's when the leaves, they are starting to develop as well. So during that phase, this transpiration rate is rapid. Now, the effect of this root pressure can only be seen during nights. So that is why probably you see a lot of, dew drops in the early morning, because over the night, less of transpiration has happened. More of the water has accumulated in the plant, and that is being given out. And due to the drop in temperature, the otherwise in the afternoon there is higher temperature, so that water is evaporating. But due to drop in temperature during night, that water cannot evaporate and it stays on the leaf as it is. So that is why this root pressure is very important phenomena in terms of maintaining that turgid nature of these plant cells. Now, the main contribution of the root pressure is to establish the continuous movement of water molecules in the xylem. It's not the case that roots will absorb some water and then they will take rest, and then they will absorb next chunk and then again they will take rest. No, it is continuous and slow movement of water absorption over the time that happens by this root pressure movement. It is not that not that it happens in stages or steps, but it is a continuous movement. So that is what is root pressure. Now, most commonly things that we observe around this root pressure is like if we chop off the shoot, that is, if we, whenever we cut a stem of a particular plant or tree, the water is still coming out of that root stump. Root stump is nothing but whatever is left over next to the ground when we cut a particular tree. So that is the root stump, and that will keep pushing out the water because the water absorption has not stopped by the root, though the upper part of the plant has been cut, but still the water is absorbed, and this is due to the root pressure that the water will be still coming out of the root stump. And I guess this point is already explained well. So in short, what happens is the root will absorb water through osmosis process. The water will move inwards through the different layers of the root. That's what you saw in this diagram. And then it will enter into the xylem and it will move upward. So that is what is explained in this case, in these 2 points. Now, the most important phenomena here is that not just root pressure that is allowing the water to push upward. If there is only root pressure, it cannot reach to the tallest of the trees. Let's say a tree is 50-meter tall or so, then in that case, the water does not have that much pressure to push all through the xylem to the tip of the leaf. That cannot happen, and the reason being there is no sufficient pressure. Now, in that case, the transpiration helps. Now, for example, the analogy here is, let's say you have a big pipe, and one end of that pipe you have put in the bucket which is filled with water, and from other side you suck in, right? You suck in the water with your mouth, right? So the water will start coming through pipe to you. Now transpiration is exactly similar. Transpiration loses water. So the moment it loses water, it creates a suction force so that more and more water can be pulled upward towards the leaf, and the root pressure is pushing it upward, and also the transpiration pull is also pulling it upward. So both ways, then the water can reach up to the topmost part of the tree. This particular phenomena, I guess we will see it again in the transpiration chapter, but here I just gave you the brief idea. What is in here? Yeah, I guess this part I can skip, except this third point. In non-woody plant, that means something like your grass, right? That doesn't have any woody structure as such. The plant cell, they will accumulate water through the osmosis process, and it will become like plump. Plump, I assume you know, plump is like kind of squishy. They will have a lot of water inside, so that the that plump structure is good enough to keep the plant upright. Grasses as such do not have any hard structure like wood has, right? Even though you would have seen like quite 5 feet tall grasses around you, and that is mainly because of the high turgidity or high root pressure in those plants, and the stem of those plants or those grasses, they will maintain water content uh, like as it is, and causing less water loss. uh, yeah, I guess that's even the last point we discussed already. So that is the a lot about root pressure. Now just the last part here is, now just the arrow direction is opposite here, that is wrongly done in this particular diagram, but I couldn't find better diagram in terms of representation, so I have taken this. But just imagine these arrows, they are in opposite direction. Yeah, opposite direction as in towards the center of the root, right? So this is the epidermis layer, this is the cortex layer, this is the root hair, of course. So root hair, epidermis, cortex, and then here this line of cells, columnar cells, you see, is endodermis. Like we have epidermis, that is outermost. Endodermis is kind of inner layer which is protecting the innermost structure, and then a pericycle, which is another type of parenchymatous tissue which is present around the xylem and phloem. And this double walled structure that you see is nothing but your xylem, and then there is next to it is also phloem tissue, but we are not talking about phloem here. So water will get absorbed by the root hair, it will cross epidermis, then it will cross cortex, and then it will enter. So whatever you see here is the turgid cells. Yeah, so these root hair is turgid, this cell is turgid, this cell is turgid, this is also turgid, and the water is moving by osmosis in this direction. Yeah, and then it will enter into the xylem tissue, and then it will be carried upward throughout the length of the plant. So that is what is the movement of the water because of the root pressure. Okay, I guess I will stop here. If there are any questions, I will take it. If not, we will continue in the next class from where we had left off. For today, this is good enough content. I will replace this diagram later with the proper arrow position. I feel this is not the right one, or maybe the purpose of this diagram is something else. But like I said, I couldn't find a better diagram in terms of this representation. Also, one more important fact that I must mention is you need to draw this diagram in the exam if at all it is asked. You cannot draw the earlier one that I showed like just as a simpler representation. So that's why I had to show this particular one.